They called him the Birdman. Chris Andersen didn't walk onto the court, he attacked it. From the moment he checked in, the energy in the arena changed. The fans knew something wild was about to happen. A block? A dunk? A dive into the first row? With Birdman, it could be anything. He wasn't the tallest guy on the floor, nor the flashiest scorer. But he made sure everyone in the building felt his presence. Whether it was a perfectly timed block or a reverse jam that rattled the rim, Andersen brought chaos in the best possible way. In an era dominated by finesse and smooth skill sets, Chris Andersen made a name for himself by doing the dirty work. He flew into passing lanes, challenged every shot, and hustled like every possession was the last of his career. And he did it all with his signature mohawk, tattoos from head to toe, and that undeniable Birdman flair. People in Miami didn't just see him as a role player, they saw him as a jolt of electricity. When the Heat needed a boost, Andersen was the one to check in, slap his wings, and ignite a run. A tip in here, a monster block there. He was a one-man spark plug. But the nickname? That didn't come from nowhere. Back in 2002, during his early days, teammates Kenny Satterfield and Junior Harrington gave it to him. Bird, come on, Bird. They'd call him in practice. The name stuck. And eventually, so did the persona. Birdman wasn't just a name. It was an identity, a mindset, a statement that he wasn't going to play like anyone else. He was going to fly his own way. And from the first tip-off, that's exactly what he did. Chris Andersen didn't need the spotlight. He was the spotlight. In a Miami Heat team loaded with superstars like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, you'd think a bench player might get lost in the background. But not Birdman. You could hear the crowd before he even checked in. The moment he peeled off his warm-up shirt, the arena roared. Everyone knew what time it was. Birdman time. He wasn't there to score 20 points or take the final shot. He was there to do everything that didn't show up in the box score, but mattered more than anyone realized. Chasing down loose balls, swatting shots off the backboard, outworking the guy in front of him on every possession. When Miami needed momentum, they didn't always turn to LeBron. Sometimes, they turned to the man with wings on his arms and fire in his chest. Andersen fit into that Heat culture perfectly, gritty, unselfish, relentless. In 2013, when Miami was chasing another championship, Birdman stepped in and gave them something no one else could: fearless energy. He dove into the first row to save possessions. He blocked shots so hard, the ball bounced into the third row. And when he dunked, he made sure the rim remembered it. There was one game where he took a hit on a drive, finished the layup, and still flexed his wings with the same intensity as if he'd just dunked on a 7-footer. That was Birdman. Every play was a war. Every second on the floor was a message. I'm here to work. And it wasn't just highlight plays. It was the way he made the team feel. The way his teammates fed off his energy. The way the crowd erupted every time he threw down a putback slam or blocked someone at the rim. He turned momentum into a weapon. And the Heat rode it all the way to the NBA Finals. He didn't just play basketball. He flew over it. He soared with confidence, with power, with something that couldn't be coached. Chris Andersen was a role player in name only. In spirit, he was a force, a presence, a symbol of heart, hustle, and chaos. When you talk about that Miami Heat dynasty, you better not leave out Birdman. Because when the Heat caught fire, it was Birdman who often lit the spark. Chris Andersen wasn't born to fit in. He was born to stand out. Everything about him, his tattoos, his energy, his fearlessness, made that clear. You couldn't ignore Birdman even if you tried. He was loud, proud, and completely unapologetic about who he was. But behind the mohawk and the ink, behind the soaring dunks and chase-down blocks, was a story a lot of fans never saw. Before the bright lights of Miami, Chris Andersen had been through it all. He went undrafted, spent time in minor leagues, was suspended from the NBA, faced setbacks that would have crushed most players. But he didn't stop. He never gave up. Birdman didn't just come out of nowhere. He fought his way back. And that's part of what made him so powerful on the court. Every block, every rebound, every roar to the crowd came from a place deeper than basketball. It came from survival, from redemption, from the pain of being counted out, and the pride of proving people wrong. When he returned to the NBA, it wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement that he still belonged, that he never stopped believing in himself, even when the world doubted him. And once he put on that Miami Heat jersey, he made every second count. The nickname Birdman wasn't just a catchy moniker. It became a symbol of freedom, of flight, of breaking limits. He flapped his arms after dunks not just for show, but as a reminder, you can't cage a spirit like his. You can't silence a soul that refuses to quit. Even in a league filled with polished stars and media-trained soundbites, Andersen stayed raw and real. He didn't hide behind cliches. He owned his journey, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. That's why fans loved him. He was authentic. He was flawed. He was real. And maybe that's what made his presence so special. You could feel the emotion in every play. When he jumped for a block, he wasn't just trying to stop a shot, he was defending everything he had worked to rebuild. When he screamed after a dunk, it wasn't just adrenaline, it was defiance. A man who had once lost it all, now flying again, louder than ever. Birdman wasn't just a nickname. It was a legacy. Proof that even the most unlikely stories can take flight. Chris Andersen never led the league in points. He didn't win MVPs. He wasn't the face of any franchise. But try telling that to the fans who screamed his name, who threw up their arms every time he flapped his wings after a dunk, who stood on their feet when he entered the game. Try telling that to Miami, where the moment Birdman checked in, it didn't feel like just another substitution. It felt like a storm was coming. That's what made Birdman special. His impact wasn't measured in stats. It was measured in energy, emotion, and electricity. Every time he stepped on the floor, he brought something few players ever could, a presence that shifted the mood of an entire arena. The truth is, not everyone can be the star. Not everyone gets to take the final shot or see their name in headlines every night. But what Birdman proved, over and over again, is that there's power in playing your role like it's everything. In owning who you are and refusing to compromise. He didn't want to be someone else. He didn't try to blend in. He wore his identity like a badge of honor, tattoos stretching across his body, hair spiked high, fire in his eyes. Chris Andersen wasn't just performing. He was living. And every moment on the court was a reflection of the battles he fought off of it. He wasn't perfect, but he was real. That's why the fans didn't just watch him, they felt him. When he slammed home a dunk, it was a release. When he blocked a shot into the stands, it was a warning. And when he spread his arms and roared to the sky, it was a reminder to never back down. For young players watching at home, Birdman showed that you don't need to be the most skilled to make a name for yourself. You just need to bring heart, grit, passion, and the courage to be unapologetically you. When people talk about the legends of the game, the Birdman's name might not always come up first. But ask any real fan, anyone who watched the game with their heart, and they'll tell you. Chris Andersen was unforgettable, a force of chaos, a master of momentum, a symbol of what it means to rise after the fall. Because in the end, legacy isn't about numbers. It's about moments. And Birdman gave us moments we'll never forget. He didn't just play in the NBA. He left claw marks on the backboard, wings in the rafters, and a story that soared beyond the court. Birdman didn't just take flight. He made sure the whole world saw him fly.